This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. We're waiting for the mayor. I thought he would be here by now, but maybe they're stuck at the bridge. I don't know. The mayor's never late, actually. He's really never late. So we will take your phone calls in the meantime at 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. We are going to talk with the mayor about a couple of things that have happened in the city council that we've got our eye on. One is the recall provision, right? Here it is. The other is the succession plan. The succession plan, they're finally taking that up. That's going to come up this week in the city council. Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
Chris, I'm all right.
We were getting worried about you.
Well, I was actually helping a woman get out of, this might sound too good to be true, but I was actually helping a woman from Community Connections get out of her van. That's what...
No, I believe you.
Yeah. I don't mean for that to sound self-serving, but that is what I was...
You were absolutely the opposite of that. You were serving her, right? No, that's great. We do appreciate that, Mayor. And for that, helping other people, you can be late. Got some big news in the city. Vineyard Wind is opening an office building here in the city, in the Quest building.
No, they're not.
They're not.
I listened to some of what in the last hour. It couldn't be more off the mark than...
Explain it.
Yes. So, I don't know whether WBSM has reported any of this, and in the news I haven't heard it. But,
we don't really have a news department much anymore, Mayor.
Yeah. So this is unvarnished good news for the city. So we have been working very hard to develop new businesses in the city of every kind, and we do that through a number of means, through what are called through, of course, the Economic Development Council and a number of the workforce agencies, but also through accelerator programs and co-working space programs where businesses come together in shared space with shared resources. Groundworks is a great example of that in the Quest Center.
Right.
And so it is what we've found an opportunity to supersize all of that. And so what we've done, you've heard some of these announcements that we've done over the last few weeks to launch business support organizations, the funding that we put into New Bedford Research and Robotics, almost right next door to the Quest Center, which is going to be fabulous, building on an existing institution in Brooklyn. We worked with the state to launch an accelerator program on the waterfront for marine tech. That is in the works still. There's still some issues to be worked out there, but that is a huge opportunity for the city, some $15 million investment with probably another $2 million every year over the course of the lease, so a lot of dough.
Right. So
this is yet another complement. So what we have found is that we need to have some flex space for businesses that are growing but aren't scaled up enough to go and rent in the downtown office space market.
Okay.
So, and this is true of also businesses that come that are established and are sizable, but are coming here for a short period of time. That are sort of think about this as a short-term rental. Right?
Okay.
So lots of property owners do it on a residential level. There is a business analog as well. And so what we've seen these things work pretty well in Europe, especially in places where there's offshore wind and other marine activity going on.
Right.
So what we said is that we should have that here in New Bedford. So the place that we thought we would do it is in the Quest Center, because you've got all this other complementary activity. You have the Economic Development Council on the second floor. We have the likes of a couple of groundworks on the first floor,
Okay.
most significantly, New Bedford Research and Robotics right next door. We're building a parking garage across the street. Purchase Street right in front on that whole corridor connecting downtown is about to be redone through a MassWorks grant. So,
Okay.
and then you have the passenger rail station right across, and you see the bridge. So there's a lot going on there. The Armory, which will likely become housing or something complementary to the neighborhood.
Sure.
All to be worked out. So there's a lot happening. So we said, well, this is a good location to allow businesses to have space that is flexible, short term, and if as they scale up, they can go to the downtown office market. So that's the idea. So where do we get the money to do that? So we're using ARPA funds. So it's a $3 million project using ARPA funds. Half of it's about ARPA, works out to be like 1.6 million. It's a little more than half. And then we're getting money from Vineyard Wind. Vineyard Wind is not moving into the space.
Okay,
so
Vineyard Wind's not moving into the space.
So that is they are not moving into the space.
Okay.
Vineyard Wind's offices are in the Bank of America building.
I thought so.
And that's where they are. So though they are not moving into the building, there's no catch here. There's no corporate subsidy.
Okay.
None of that stuff. This is the mayor going out and getting money for the
From
city
the
of New Bedford.
corporation.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no string here.
That's beautiful.
They
So this
bid
is
on
for the
project,
Ocean
and they're
Cluster
it sounds too
Group.
good to be true.
Well, it
no,
kinda does.
When they bid on the project originally, they had committed $10 million, as the state expected them to fund economic development projects in places. And so I said, so this is going back 3-4 years now. I said, well, some of that money's going to New Bedford, and insisted on it. And so what we did was we said, okay, we have ARPA funds from the federal government, not from New Bedford property taxes, but from the federal government. And we want you, Vineyard Wind, to match it. We want to build out the space so that we can create opportunity. So you get so that's what there's no corporate welfare here. There's
Good.
no, this is not going in the wrong direction, Chris. There's
Good,
none of
good,
that.
good.
This is all gravy.
So
New
this
Bedford.
is
and
them making an investment in the city.
I hear. I don't mean to get defensive about this, but people need to see a good thing for what it is. It's
Sure.
a good thing. This is money, free money to New Bedford.
Right. I like that. Free money to New Bedford.
Build opportunity for residents here. That's what this is, to support businesses that we'd like to see grow.
So who will be able to use that space?
And so I hear city councilors say, well, this is, where did they find the ARPA funds? And add a caller who parrots the city council's language, right? Because that's what they hear, right? You guys played this on the radio. It wasn't reported by BSM, right? But what I'm saying is, no.
Well, it goes over your cable network. That's how we report it.
Well, but you're welcome to call our office if you want to set the record straight. Because you know what, Chris? Because this has been in the city council monthly report since May.
Right.
It says Quest Center, third floor, with an amount next to it. So when you get city councilors who are banging their desks saying, "Where is he finding the money? How's it?" No, it's been in front of you. Read the reports. Seriously. So look, I regret my tone this morning, but I get my back up when listen to some of this stuff, and people are like, "Oh, this is how awful this is." No, this is good news. Take it for what it is. This is not corporate welfare. Vineyard Wind gets nothing out of this. They're not going into the building. This is money.
So
for
who
the
do you
federal
anticipate will
government.
go into the building?
We want businesses, so the New Bedford Ocean Cluster, for starters, will be there. But as we've seen, there are businesses that set up shop temporarily, especially for offshore wind projects. We have that in different parts of the city. So General Electric wanted to be there. We couldn't get this thing done in time for them. So General Electric is in trailers down by on the New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, right? But if we can, and then there are other businesses that are sort of scattered around the city. What we're trying to do is say, look, come to this place and you can have short-term rentals, not for free. You will pay rent,
right?
And but it will be a place that it makes it. The point is to make it easy for businesses to do business in the city, and if they feel like it can do business easily here, readily, without all kinds of red tape, they might stay here. They might grow here.
Right.
They might they might create opportunity for existing New Bedford businesses.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do. And so that's the idea. And it's not, we didn't make this stuff up. This exists in places in Europe. In England, we've been to these places. The Cambridge Innovation Center over in Providence is kind of similar.
Okay.
Or I consider that to be, well, I mean, I'll be candid about it. It's a competitor.
Sure.
Right. But we as I've said before, we are going to compete against other places. And so this helps us compete. This is all good news. It's gravy for the city. And I'm very proud of the work that my administration did to secure those funds and to conceive of the idea,
right,
and to be executing on it right now. It's a feather in the city's cap.
So if somebody's interested in getting into that building, how do they do it?
Bedford Ocean
Cluster. So
called, Jen Downing.
I don't. Used to be a paper boy.
Used to be her paper boy,
yeah.
Right? You can call her.
She's the manager of the building then. Well, the whole space.
EDC
right?
She's the manager of that space. The Economic Development Council manages the building. The building is owned by the city. Groundworks on the first floor is run by Sarah Thanis, and then next door in Bedford Research and Robotics is run by Mark Parsons. These are all people. We want people working together.
Yes.
To build out the pie in the city. This is how cities can grow in the 21st century. You make it easy for businesses to do business here, and you get them to collaborate, get them to network, connect them with people, and stuff can happen.
We have the mayor of New Bedford here. It's a Tuesday, not a Wednesday. You have a new position. We've mentioned it here. We played your colleague, Linda Morad, railing against it here on the floor. She was the only one who spoke against it. The new data manager. Mayor Mitchell, explain what you're looking to do here.
Yeah, the whole point of it is that, as the saying goes, data is the new oil.
Yeah.
Data, the ability to collect data, to understand it, and to deploy it to in service of solving problems is key to operating anything in the modern age,
yes,
including municipal government. And so we can't be, like as some would suggest, like North Korea, right? We're just going to shut off ideas. Like everything new, especially if the mayor proposes it, is rot, and that it's not worth a dime. Well,
right,
if we do our work well, if we manage data well, we will be a much more efficient and effective city government. We've done that, right? So it happens in all kinds of contexts. So,
right.
We've got a police department that, despite smaller numbers, significantly smaller forces, keeping a lid on crime in the city, and yes, they do it. And there are lots of reasons for it, but one of them is the fact that they utilize data much better than they used to. So what they do is they understand where crime is likely to occur, and they put, based on the data they get about
right,
where things are happening, they plot it out on maps, and they deploy police officers. The fire department's seeing a significant drop in structure fires. They're doing that because they're identifying the characteristics of those structures where fires have occurred.
Right.
They tend to be in tenements. They tend to be in tenements that are non-owner occupied, tenements with a history of code violations, okay, and so forth. And so what we do is we say, okay, we've identified all those in light of the data we've reviewed. We're going to put inspectors in those places, and we find those owners. We get them to do what they need to do to make their places safe. We're seeing a drop in structure fires, a significant one. We had 25% over the last roughly year and a half or so, which is enormous. It's probably some lives saved. So we need somebody. So we need somebody to manage all these things. It's not some like hugely paid position. It starts at $96,000, right, which is less than what the average police officer clears in a year, right? Well, with overtime baked in. So we're not fattening somebody up on the city's dime. We're actually making city government more effective.
How common is this around the country?
Oh, it's very common. I don't know exactly how many cities.
No, but you could say this is a common member of a municipal management
this is what
team.
Sophisticated cities do.
Right. Explain it.
Look. We're not going to run a city government that tries to dumb it down for everybody. Like, oh no, we don't need this thing. We don't need anything that's new here. Everything's perfect in New Bedford. Everything's perfect. We don't need to spend a dime on anything else. That's not the way we operate. We try to get better every single day, and you get better by being open to new ideas. This is not craziness. There are plenty of other cities in America that have data managers. And guess what? Here in the 21st century, this is what you need to run the railroad.
So,
I don't know. I mean, it's like people understand that there are certain city councilors that will spout off. If I if I said, we're going to erect a statue to city councilor so-and-so, that there are certain councilors who are going to say, oh, no, don't do that. That's, I don't know what to say. There's some councilors, very few, very, very few, who will object to our proposals, not because of the merits of the proposal, but because I'm proposing them. So I get the territory, but I think what I would just strongly recommend is when you hear those things, we stand by willing to offer up the facts, and then let the public can judge the merits of the proposals on their own.
We have the mayor here in studio on a Tuesday. He's not normally here. He's normally here on Wednesday. You will be out of town next week.
No, I'm going to be down in Washington.
Okay.
Doing a number of things. I had some meetings lined up, and try to advance some of the city's interests while I'm down there.
You've moved some property into developers' hands, so maybe make into housing. The police station, that was a conversation on the floor of the city council. A couple of other, I think a firehouse, a couple of the police stations. Oh, is this a continuation of the mayor's housing plan?
Yeah, that's right in there. And so one of the items in the housing plan is all about increasing supply. And so one of the ways that we can increase supply of housing, right, and thereby put downward pressure on prices is to free up publicly owned properties that can be developed into housing. So we have, as you know, we've got schools, we've got firehouses that the city has owned for a long time and is no longer using. Some of those buildings can readily be converted into apartments. And so we do that by putting them out to the bid, to bid for developers. And so in the case of two of the fire stations, one in the west end, former Fire Station 3 right on Kempton Street, and former Fire Station 11 on Brock Avenue in the south end. Those are going forward as developable properties. I think it was the same developer who bid on both of those. And then on the former police station on Cove Street, which used to be the Harriman Library. It was never built for a police station. A police station was stuck in what was...
I always wonder why it looked like that.
It looks like it was just totally dysfunctional. This is what the city did for years. Well, we're going to put a police station in. Let's empty out the library. And the new library was built. The Harriman Library wasn't there for very long. It was named after Mayor Harriman, who was mayor back in the 40s. But when the Holland Green Library was built a block down the street.
Right.
That building replaced the Harriman Library, and they stuck a police station in the library. So it's never worked really well as a police station, but that's what the city did. The city put police stations in libraries, supermarkets, as we know. But that's a whole other discussion.
But now you're going to try to, developers come in. I see you've got a couple of developers who have taken over these properties, and so that's to the good.
Yeah, these properties will go on the tax rolls. There will be units that will go to people who need housing, and so that's wish we had more of these opportunities. We have some former schools that we were going to move ahead in the same fashion, the former Taylor School on Brock Avenue, as well as the former Kempton school on Shawmut Avenue. Both were going to move ahead for housing development. So all good stuff. Like, it's more housing units, and it's more tax-paying properties.
We're going to take a break. We have the mayor of New Bedford here on a Tuesday. It's Tuesdays with the mayor, unlike Tuesdays with Maury. Did you ever read that book?
No, I've never read it. I heard it's pretty good, but I've never read it.
I never read it. I heard it was kind of depressing.
Well,
it's about a dead guy or something like that.
Maybe I shouldn't read it.
No, don't. Be jolly. Don't read Tuesdays with Maury. Maury with Tuesdays, or whatever it is. We have the mayor here, though, in a jubilant mood. We're going to.
I'll lighten up in a second.
No, I don't want you to. I like this. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be right back. Man, that's off the mayor's playlist. Do you ever feel that way, Mayor? That the city is the only thing that loves you. Whatever
my dog loves me.
Your dog does love you. I just got a new dog.
Did you really?
Yeah, brand new puppy. Because Milo, he retired on us to the afterland. We got a brand new puppy. It's a lot of fun.
What kind of dog?
Shih Tzu.
No kidding.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's
great.
fun. They're running around the house. He's great. He's great.
That's fabulous.
Anyway, we have
I saw
business.
a bumper sticker, maybe about a year ago or so, that said, what was it? It was, I'm trying to be the person my dog thinks I am.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
That's
good.
something to strive.
That is something to strive
to live by.
They really are. So we've got, this seems like it's been there forever, no fault of your own, mayors, the recall succession plan. I know you sent them up together, but they are independent of each other, correct? You could have a recall and a succession plan.
This is, the purpose behind these is just to make the city government in general more accountable. And the second measure is sort of just a housekeeping exercise. It has to do with the timing of a municipal election in the event of a vacancy in the mayor's office, when the position of mayor went from a 2-year to a 4-year term. We didn't update the provision that dictates when a special election should happen to fill that position. It still says 2 years as opposed to 4. So that should be straightforward enough. The recall provision is most cities have recall provisions. It is analogous. They are analogous to the impeachment provision in the federal Constitution, which says that when the office holder has done something to, in the case of the federal Constitution, engage in high crimes and misdemeanors, it's either and or, then that president is subject to impeachment by the House. A recall provision is similar. It's not done by the legislature. It's as it were the city council. It's actually done by direct vote of the public, and there's a whole process to initiate it. Most cities have recall provisions because you don't. Like, the idea is that, look, if you have somebody in the front office who abuses the position in some way or discredits the city in some profound way, it has to be a big deal, right? But there should be a mechanism to remove that person. And the same goes for other positions. Same goes for city councilors or school committee members and the like. So that's why I propose that it is it's a gap in our charter, and we took a very close look at how other cities around the country, but especially Massachusetts, arranged for recall elections. And what we've done is we've said, look, because the recalling of an elected official undoes an election, right? It negates the result of an election. It has to. The process has to treat. The process should be invoked only in exceptional circumstances. So that's why, where we put the voting threshold in there, it was actually a fairly high one,
right?
So it only gets invoked if it's a really big deal. So it's been sitting in front of the city council.
Months.
I filed it in January, so we're coming up on a year now. I honestly don't know what the objection is. It's not for me. Like, none of this stuff it's like neither here nor there for me.
Right.
It doesn't. So I'm not planning on doing anything that might subject to me to recall, Chris. So it's not for me. But
no, but it's for down the road preventing what happened in Fall River. We've had a real example a couple of zip codes away.
Well, there's that. Yeah, I think people here sort of, look, it's, as I said before, things, Fall River's a different city, and Fall River, they've made their own decision. I don't want to criticize any other city's decisions, but there are examples around the country, and Fall River's one of them, where there was a real problem with the chief executive, and that person should be subject to recall. And
what's he doing these days? Oh, he's in federal prison.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's an example of Rob Ford, 10 years ago, the mayor of Toronto, right, the largest city in Canada, who in his time in office openly admitted to smoking crack, right, which is kind of crazy, and he just gave the gave the finger to the public and said, you can't do anything. There's no recall provision. So that underscored, I think, the need to at least have that mechanism in there. So those are extreme examples, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about just as sort of a safety valve in case something extreme happens.
But you learned from what happened over in Fall River and tweaked your proposal, or
well,
we
did look at Fall River's ordinance, and there were some flaws in it. One of the biggest, there were the flaws in the voting thresholds. They were too low, and then such that if it's too low, like any kind of good faith policy objection can turn into a recall. So you don't want that to happen. Like election should count for something. There's a specific term, and in the absence of some dereliction, severe dereliction of duty, the mayor or city council, whoever should serve out their term and be subject to the judgment of the voters. But the other problem. So that was one problem, the voting threshold. The other problem in Fall River was the fact that and we saw this play out, if the recalled official, the recalling of the official and the election to replace all happened at once. So in other words, if there was an affirmative vote for the recall, the next question for the voter was, well, who would you vote for, including the person who was recalled? And so you saw in Fall River that the recalled official won a plurality of the vote.
Yes.
So it kind of negated the whole exercise. So that it shouldn't happen that way. So what we've proposed is an arrangement where those two questions are separated. Right? There's a determination made whether that person is the official is to be recalled. If the answer is yes, then there's a special election that happens at some point afterward. That's what most cities did. I don't know why they did it the way they did in Fall River, but it did obviously cause them a problem.
We have the mayor of New Bedford here in studio. So, Mayor, you're always, and I focus on a lot too because it's important, the bond rating of the city. If the city doesn't have a valid succession plan and potential recalls, do the bond people look at that askew?
I don't think they look at it in the abstract. I don't think they say, well, as we look at city governments, the structure of city government in a particular city, because there's no succession plan, no succession provision like the one we discussed, or there's no recall provision, they'll say, well, that means they should have a lower rating. You could imagine a circumstance, though, when the city wants to go out to market with bonds, and there's a huge instability at the top, because that I think could put downward pressure on the rating.
Yeah,
it's one reason. I mean, there are lots of other reasons to make sure that people who don't belong in office don't stay in office, but that is one of them.
It just seems wild to me that it seems like a dereliction of duty.
Yeah,
basically.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why the city council has not advanced these, and I think that's something they should answer. And this has nothing to do with me. I just we identified these gaps in the city charter, and there's this mindset among certain councilors that says, well, if the mayor's proposing it, it's inherently suspect, or no, like what's the mayor doing for us, or no, like this is just for the public good.
It seems to me that people, I don't know. I don't know why they are holding it up. I really don't. It makes me look at them askew, really, to say, what are you worried about that I don't know about?
I don't know. I guess I think they take it up. I think it's tonight, and
but it could just easily be. I mean, they haven't really had a discussion on it yet.
No, they haven't. No, it's been. I filed. I think it was January or early February. So we're going on a year now, Chris. Look, they need to explain themselves.
No, they definitely do.
And I'm not assuming any particular outcome, but it is concerning that this is only being taken up now.
508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. You have a supplemental budget coming forward because...
The college.
Did you really? You have a supplemental budget coming to supplement the budget of what the city council cut out during budget season. There's should be a pretty good discussion coming up. Talk about that, Mayor.
Well, there is. So there were a number of items that were cut out of the budget that didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's healthcare, employee healthcare was cut pretty severely. That is going to drain down to a problematic point our healthcare reserve. And we've explained that to the city's unions that that's going to be a problem in our ability to year over year to in a consistent, stable way fund employee health care. If that cut remains in place, there are also cuts to things like the Zeiterion contract. Now, when I say so, they didn't, I shouldn't say cut, they didn't fund the Zeiterion contract.
Okay.
The Zeiterion, they approved the contract a couple of months back,
Okay.
but they refused to fund it. So the question is, well, I don't think the Zeiterion could sue the city to perform on the contract. I suppose they could.
Sure.
I don't think they would,
Right.
but it shouldn't have to come to that. And what the Z has with the city is what lots of other performing arts centers have around the country, which is an operating agreement.
Right.
And especially because the building itself, the building is owned by the city, that we pay them to run it as a performing arts center. And that is a very ordinary arrangement in American cities. So there's that. There's the solicitor's office. They eviscerated the solicitor's office budget. They cut a position. They cut outside funding for outside counsel. We hire outside counsel. Ideally, we hire outside counsel only when there's a need to bring in outside expertise, legal expertise. Nowadays, we're going outside of our office because of the cuts the city council's made to our office, right? So we're spending a lot more money on outside counsel. Of course, outside counsel is a lot more expensive.
Sure.
So it's a penny wise and pound foolish cut. They cut EMS, emergency medical services, the guys who drive the ambulances, even though the revenue that EMS brings in would far offset the cut.
Right.
So again, these are penny wise, pound foolish steps. There are a number of them. We've tried to point this out to the city council. We didn't ask the city council to restore all of its cuts. In fact, it's going to work out to a little bit less than about half of what the city council cut this summer. But a lot of these cuts are to pay for legal obligations. The Z contract. Another one is to pay for the operation of the water treatment plant on Hathaway Road, right at the Sullivan's Ledge Superfund site.
Yes.
The Environmental Protection Agency says you've got to run that plant.
Right.
New Bedford. And it costs us a certain amount of money every year to do that. The city council said, no, we're not paying it. Well, guess what's going to happen? The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will sue us in a heartbeat.
Right. That's what they do.
So I don't make up these obligations. These aren't things that I'm foisting on the city. This is just the reality. You got to pay these bills. So I don't know. It's the cuts that they make. Like, we can have a discussion about spending in the city, and we do. My position has long been that we need to tackle some of the bigger items and not just make arbitrary cuts to operating budgets that don't really save taxpayers all that much money, but actually throw departments into disarray, put us in legal jeopardy, and cause other problems. Why aren't we tackling healthcare? I proposed healthcare reform 4 times now and counting. Why aren't we dealing with pensions? Right? We've tried to have these discussions with the city council, and they rather make cuts that look good to the public, but they're not really solving the issues of our fiscal pressures.
508-996-0500. We got a number of people who've been waiting patiently. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello.
2 weeks ago, I talked to you on this radio station about the 1-year delay in firearms licensing at the New Bedford Police Department. In that 2-week period, have you had any discussion with the chief or anyone else about this issue?
Yeah, I have. I right after your call, I did. And I think we got to find ways to move along some of those applications. I mean, I will tell you that, as I said that day, that we have a police department that is at 209 officers. That was at 260, a force of 260 just a few years ago. So we have we don't have all the bodies we'd like to have over there. We've got more people coming out of the academy in the next several months, and I think that'll be a big help. But yeah, we're going to try to move things along a little bit faster.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to stay on this. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for the call. We'll take a break, folks. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll be right back. Stick around. Of the mayor's playlist, that's Cool in the Gang, Jungle Boogie. So we have the mayor here in studio taking your phone calls at 508-996-0500. Thank you for holding. You're live on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Chris and Mr. Mayor?
Hey.
I've been patiently waiting for about 17 plus minutes. You know, Jungle Boogie, our city's turned into a jungle, third world country overrun by illegal aliens, sober houses, and the rooming houses that are destabilizing our neighborhoods, and the crime and the shootings. I'm listening to my scanner just this weekend on Sunday. In the morning, there were shootings on North Front Street, and even they were saying it was in front of the Panther Club on Madeira Ave, and then a carjacking on Nauset Street. You know, I know you're trying hard, but we're paying a lot of taxes, and this city's gone downhill big time. And for you to just there and not address these issues, I want you to come on and tell us what you're doing, because we're fed up. I have family members that don't even want to come to visit me because they're too afraid to get gunned down while coming here. And I know Michael Jansen talked to Chris McCarthy a couple of weeks ago, and he said that there was bullets that went into the police station in the South End on Brock Ave. We shouldn't tolerate this crap that's happening in our city. People are coming here for SNAP, EBT cards. These real estate investors come up here and they get all of these rooming houses, and they're destabilizing with noise at night, people drinking, and crime. I want you to tell us. Give us a 10-point plan of what you're going to do to clean the city up.
Thanks for the call. Mayor, you've done a lot with the sober house. I know some people in the sober house industry who are basically closing up shop because of what you're doing in terms of enforcing regulations on people. So I maybe it's a communication issue that you're not telling people how aggressive you are on this.
Yeah, so there's a lot he threw out there. It wasn't just about sober houses, but a lot of other stuff. And I think it's hard to sort of address one by one what we're doing. I'll just say in general, you know, we've done a lot of work on public safety. I think the record speaks for itself. I understand if you listen to the scanner. I remember my grandmother years ago listening to the scanner, and you hear every last call. And so if that's what you do, then you're going to hear about a crime every night in a city of over 100,000. It would give you the feeling that there's things that are awry. You know, as a father of 3 daughters, my kids come and go wherever they want in the city, and you can't say that about every city. And I don't lose any sleep over that, and I never have, not once. And but look, my job is, despite what I think is significant objective progress on public safety, we continue to be at it. We're hiring more police officers. We have 7 coming out of the academy soon. We have a set of 24 that are going in the next couple of months. That's going to help beef up our ranks. I think that's probably the biggest challenge in the police department right now. We are bringing on another, a brand new data platform in the police department called Central Square Pro, which will be one of the first police departments in the Northeast to embrace it. It is going to help us, I think, a great deal in refining what I talked about before, which is our ability to look at crime data and address it in a very precise way. And look, we continue to deal with hotspots through directed patrolling. We know where all those places are in the city, and we also try to target those who have long criminal records or those who have been engaged in violence or both. And so that's what we do. And look, I can't respond in kind to all that. But what I'll say, to your point, Yeah, I think there are people who are troubled by sober houses, and I will say this. So what we do in the cities, we regulate rooming houses. Many sober houses are set up as rooming houses, and so they fall into those regulations, and that's something that we enforce pretty strictly. The area of sober houses is a hotly litigated one around the United States, and especially in Massachusetts. Lots of cities, you name it, Fall River, Worcester, Fitchburg, Haverhill, all been sued in federal court by sober houses. And so what I say on the radio even is where they mind toward the legal implications for the city in the event that we're ever sued. So we make very clear to everybody that what we do is we regulate rooming houses, and that we're not targeting sober houses. I get it. Until there's a change in federal law, and the federal. I mean, I think one thing people should understand about sober houses, just so you know, is that we get sued under a couple different federal statutes, but one is the Fair Housing Act, which was passed in the late '60s. It's among other things, it says you can't discriminate against all manner of people, but one of them is people with disabilities, and the regulations that were created by HUD list all those disabilities, and one of them are people in recovery. That's been the controversy. Those people really disabled. The federal government says so. That regulation is subject to revisiting.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Hey, Mayor, have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
Oh, come on, Chris.
Have you thought about Carter's Clothing? You can get a gift certificate there, Mayor. It's not a bad way to shop. I think about Carter's Clothing all the time, but haven't done any Christmas shopping there before, I don't know, December 22nd or anywhere else for that matter. He likes to wait till the last minute. Let's see if we can get a couple more calls in here. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Oh, I recognize that melodic voice.
Yes. Gilly, what's happening?
Well, I just wanted to say something to John. It's all his fault about how Linda's acting. Because back in 2011, when they ran for mayor, the three of them, all right, he beat her. He went up to North End where she was the counselor there, and he beat her in every one of the precincts, and she hasn't been right since. And you know what will remind me? You played a clip yesterday, Chris.
Yes.
About from City Council. And Linda Moore used these words, John. You heard these words before. Give me a break. Haven't you heard those words?
I have. I've heard those words.
And she did the same thing when Chris played that thing. She's the cause of everything in that City Council. I don't know what you've done to that woman, but you drove her crazy. That's all I wanted to say.
On that note, Mayor, what do we got looking forward to this coming week? It's only Tuesday.
Wow, got a whole week ahead. Yeah. No, we have the city council hearings on both nights that we talked about. I think it's going to be important for the public to keep an eye on those. Sometimes the focus isn't on the subcommittee hearings, but that's where the discussions primarily occur. It's not in the full council hearing, so I think people should pay close attention to all that. But we've got Thanksgiving coming up, so next week. We have a number of turkey drives, number of things, and we've got a lot of great organizations out there. The Y, United Way, PACE, the Friendly Sons. They're doing a lot of work on Thanksgiving to help those in need. So if you have a moment to volunteer, please do so. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll see me out there.
Mayor, thanks for joining. Thanks for adjusting your schedule to make it again. I don't think we've had a break yet, so this is great, Mayor, and we'll see you next Wednesday.